Is it wise to build our homes and infrastructure so close to the coast? Though the beach may be beautiful, what is the true cost of living in paradise? I've lived on the east coast of Florida for all my life and experienced 27 tropical cyclones or hurricanes myself. In using my own experience and data from agencies such as NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the NHC, the National Hurricane Center, and the NWS, National Weather Service, and the USGS, or the United States Geological Survey, I will inform you of the potential hazards of living in the path of some of the costliest, deadliest, and most intense natural disasters on Earth. Though over the past century, our civil engineering, construction, and infrastructure have improved drastically, most man-made structures cannot withstand the true impact of our most intense storms. And when they do, they affect our economy and our wallets greatly. In the best case, we get a 5-day warning from a meteorologist with our modern day science, and we can pinpoint where a storm is going to make the most impact. And even with that, the CBO, or the Congressional Budget Office, estimates that we will have a loss of $54 billion from our economy each year just due to hurricanes, no matter where they impact the U.S. But when our meteorologists fail, or when the news comes too late, we can have our worst case scenario, such as the report of the NHC for Hurricane Harvey, or AL09 2017, by Eric S. Blake and David A. Zielinski. Here is Hurricane Harvey, published on May 9th, 2017. Hurricane Harvey was a storm that tracked across the entire Atlantic and never made much of itself. It hit Dominican Republic and Cuba only as a minimal storm and completely opened up as to a wave over the Yucatan Peninsula. Then made a turn towards Texas, and out of nowhere, 36 hours before landfall, it exploded into a Category 4 major hurricane. Unable to prepare because of short notice, the storm devastated Texas. A P2022 report by FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, estimates that we had a loss of $160 billion due to Hurricane Harvey in the late notice, which is tied with our other Hurricane Katrina, which is the most expensive disaster in the United States history. Harvey dumped 70 inches of rain, nearly 6 feet. Thousands of victims were stranded on the roofs, and businesses couldn't open for 2 months due to the flooding. And there have been estimates made that if the forecast were even 12 hours later, that thousands more people would have died. Luckily, we had the reports when they did, and only 68 people died. Now, money can be mitigated, which is what we lost with Harvey mostly, but life cannot be. In 2008, there was a project done by the American Meteorological Society that showed nearly 200,000 people lose their lives each year to tropical cyclones, or the branch that hurricanes exist in. Hurricanes, tropical cyclones, and typhoons. Closer to home, but a century ago, a storm very similar to Harvey was going across the Caribbean. It impacted Hispaniola and Cuba. A Cuban meteorologist forecasted it would turn towards the northwest, towards Texas, and make landfall there after strengthening. Due to the complexity of weather, the United States Weather Bureau forecasts was much different, taking it to the northeast towards Florida. The United States was wrong, and Texas was ill prepared. The storm became known as the Galveston Hurricane after making landfall there as a Category 4 and taking between 8,000 and 12,000 lives with it. Even today, with our advanced sciences, similar scenarios can happen. Hurricane Katrina, which you see here, was a well-known and documented storm developing on August 23rd off the east coast of Miami in Florida. It was expected to go across the state and then turn north to make landfall somewhere between Texas and Alabama. After it crossed the state and strengthened into a major hurricane, it was solidified that it would make landfall somewhere in Louisiana, a worst case scenario because of the low-lying land of New Orleans. Thousands evacuated and thousands took refuge in the Megadome, a sports arena in New Orleans, that was designed to be a safe structure in such events. Unfortunately, hundreds lost their lives in the dome due to flooding. The infrastructure was in place to keep them safe. The levees burst and flooded the city under nearly 8 feet of water and over several square miles. People were stuck on the roofs and could not be efficiently evacuated before they lost their lives. And even beyond these quantifiable measures, some hurricanes are so powerful that they can change the land around us. And that such case happened in 2019 with Hurricane Dorian, which affected Abaco Island and Grand Bahama, taking out 70% of the landmass. These people, even their houses were destroyed. Luckily, they were able to seek shelter somewhere far away and keep their lives, but their home was completely destroyed, incapable of being rebuilt. And this is not the only instance. A CNN report shows that an island in the Hawaiian chain was completely obliterated by Hurricane Wakala in the Central Pacific. And while it was uninhabited, the special wildlife that occurred only on the island was completely obliterated as well. In the United States, in the Alabama coast of Pine Beach, the erosion due to Hurricane Ivan swept out 90% of the land mass. You would ask, do people still want to live in the path of these storms? Surprisingly, the chances of natural disaster affecting your dwelling only accounts for 0.5% of a person's decision-making process when buying a home. In fact, Florida, the state most affected by hurricanes, is also the most moved-to state in the Union, followed by North Carolina, which is also the second most impacted in moved-to state, Texas the third most impacted in moved-to state. I ask though, after this information, are you still willing to put yourself in that path?